So I forgot uh, what the Florida lawyers taught me, that a civil attorney can't go into a courtroom and make criminal allegations in exchange for settlement. So, at least in most states. For some reason, New York can. But I think the way they explained it is, if you go to an attorney and you're the victim of a crime, and you would normally get some sort of settlement, then they have to work with the prosecutor, and the prosecutor gets first dibs. However, I don't. They didn't go into all the statutes, this and code, and all that crap. So I'm pointing that out because I can talk about how I've survived the cancer with the prosecutors and the detectives, and then somehow we've got to make sure that any brand name products are redacted so that those businesses cannot profit off of the crimes against me and the rest of my AA team. Especially since I believe some of those products are probably owned by some whatever that is owned by BlackRock or Vanguard or State Street or some corporate Wall Street piece of shit that's tied to Epstein. So I'll let y'all sort that shit out. And how I survived prior to getting the Social Security check, when I was just having to fly a sign in Arizona or Missouri or Florida, was different than how I've survived here, because I didn't have to deal with constant septic shock quite as often as I did there. For some reason, of course, I changed my diet a lot too. Then I ended up now I've got a worse diet than ever because I'm having to eat out all the time. Not that what I was eating at my camp was all that great, but there's a method to, I'll have to go into some of that with the special prosecutors, but I'm really hoping that tomorrow I get to help a lot of people. I hope that whatever is going on down there, I hope I can help the other survivors and people who are currently victims. I mean, there are current victims of Epstein's cabal. There's a whole lot of people, a whole lot of families that had their children taken away from them, and those kids are being gaslit medically. The medical doctors and social services are forcing those kids to take meds they don't need and making up bullshit about oppositional defiant disorder or trauma and shit that ain't real. Oh yeah, they probably are traumatized, but not because of anything their parents did. Or even if let's say there are some like me whose parents were abusive assholes. You don't get to exploit it to run your healthcare fraud scams. And then what they hope is they traumatize the kids enough, they import the drugs. Epstein's partners crime, import the drugs, hoping that the kids end up on the drugs. And keep the parents high. And make sure the parents don't get access to good, proper rehabilitation. So that's kind of going on right now. The victims of Epstein's Wall Street cabal and Epstein himself isn't just what happened on the island or with Prince Andrew or Bill Gates or Alan Dershowitz or Chad Cronin or Beth Sweeney. It's shit that goes on in buildings just like this one right here. This is the state building for the state of Vermont. Now, this half of it is not being utilized for children and family services anymore, but the health department's still on that end. And that's all that, and they do oversight on all, the Human Services Agency in that building does oversight on all the other human services, and that's Paul Dragon. They got their bases covered. And you got assholes like Lance in that building. That's also the federal building. But downstairs, that bottom part's the post office. He was working with Becky Burrell. It used to be your, you had 10-day grace period to pay your post office box fee, and then they did away with that not too long ago, maybe a year ago or so. See, it was either the last notice I got or the one before that. And that doesn't mean that isn't tied to me. I mean, they do shit in advance. They knew they were going to cut off my Social Security at some point. And I think they cut it off after April because they knew this court date was coming up, and they were like, shit, we need to cut off our money, so, and then we'll just say she doesn't have it. Plus, I think it was also strategic because they knew that my post office box fee was due May 31st. So they said they didn't have an updated address, gave them the updated address, then they refused to put the updated address in there, knowing that I wouldn't, if they didn't put the money in my account, I wouldn't be able to pay my P.O. box, and then they get the benefit of, see, look, she doesn't have an address. Yeah, that shit just ain't fucking gonna play. And Lance is a part of that, because he's the fucking supervisor. He's the management for that unit. He was the one that was holding on to held on to that package of doxycycline, but boy, as soon as the sender wanted it rerouted right back, oh, that motherfucker found it in a matter of minutes, I'm sure. As soon as he got the notice, he knew right where to get it and immediately put it in as rerouted, but couldn't put the fucking notice in my box. And if you think Cousy and the state police in New York and JAG didn't watch all y'all plan this shit out, y'all are sorely mistaken. That's why they chose this date the way they did, to give you motherfuckers, give Lance time to show his ass that he was in cahoots with Besant, with Blanche, with Blondie, with Patel, with Mark, Wayne, Cletus, Joe Bob, Billy Bob. There's that Mike, the guy in black standing, he's wearing a black coat and a gray hoodie. That's the one that was working with Bill Kinnear that one day. Says he's a veteran. If he is, let me tell you, the Marines basically will take anybody if they'll take his stupid ass. I mean, that guy's IQ has got to be a fence post like that. Oh. Anyway, the bus was not on time. The 644 never came. So there was a number 6 that never left the station, apparently. I'm late, so I'm not going to get out to Essex until 8:30. And I haven't eaten since yesterday afternoon, and I've got a horrible headache from not eating. So I'm going to try to eat real quick, and then I'm going to have to probably, I don't know if I'm going to have time to wash any clothes. Because I think all my shit is moisture wicking, and it's very light, and I could really rinse it out. I got a bucket. I can rinse it out really good with baking soda to get the smell out, because I don't care if it's clean. And because it's moisture wicking, I can wring it really good and throw it in the dryer at probably 75 cents. It would be dry with some dryer sheets, and I'd probably be stellar. But it's going to depend on whether or not I can get into my little spot and get my bucket out. I've got a bottle of baking soda water, so I've got the baking soda, and I've got, I think I've got liquid fabric softener that would make a huge difference too, because it's really, I could care less if it's clean or dirty. I just don't want it smelling. I don't want to go in there smelling like funk. And I'm gonna rinse my mouth out really good. Here's something else that's important for everybody to know. Until I get proper cancer treatment, I'm going to stink no matter how much I shower. No matter how much I shower or scrub, I'm always going to smell like rotting flesh, because the cancer's in both lungs. So it doesn't matter how much I brush my teeth or brush my tongue or gargle, my breath is going to smell like, and plus because I'm a MRSA carrier, it's just going to smell like MRSA infection. And the same with the uterine cancer, kind of does the same thing. I remember that from when I was in Buffalo. When I was in ECMC, there was a piece of shit medical assistant that got off on making fun of me because I smelled. And I wrote her up to several supervisors, and I said, tell the piece of shit little bitch, it don't matter how much I showered, that smell isn't going to go away until I get fucking cancer treatment. So keep that in mind when I'm down there. But you can tell the difference between the infection smell, like somebody with bed sores, or like an elderly person that has bed sores, or you know, when there's like an infection smell, that's very distinctive sort of smell. It's different. Can't mistake that with body funk. So I'm probably just going to rinse down, scrub off. I got my washcloth. When I run in and get the bucket, I cut off my pant legs, and for the Palmerlows sent some guy in a black SUV to give me and the alcoholic hippie freak that was trying to trump me on flying a sign, mad because I was standing there too long and he was hurting for a beer, gave us long sleeve black Vermont construction t-shirts, and just conveniently the right size for me, 2XL. You think that's a coincidence? Yeah, nice try, Palmerlows. It ain't gonna work that way.